Hello and welcome back to VRC 1000. This is lesson number 5 of morning number 6, paragraph jumble number 2. The last lesson we said this: keep it simple, soldier. And I think this should be in general your mantra for everything about CAT. Is not just paragraph jumble, it is also paragraph summary, it is also paragraph completion, it is also reading comprehension, not just VRC, it's also DLR, it's also QA. If you look at whatever your preparation, keep it simple. Don't make it complicated. Life is anyway too complicated. Let's make things simple. Okay. And we said this, right? We have to look at the start, find the block, get the sequence. We said this. And in that sequence, we said zoom in, which is from a general to a specific, is what we see a lot. But what if we don't find too many? So we said that this cohesion word, echo, pronouns, and we also have what else? Signals, and we just don't find too many of this. And couple of sentences we find it very, very difficult to or challenging because of the lack of these things, because you're looking for these things. What if it's not there? So eventually I'll have to think about sequencing, which means logical way in which I have to order these ones. So there is some logical progression from one to one. And we can in general bet on the idea that things are going to zoom in. So there are a lot of ways in which zooming can happen. The simplest way is to look at a funnel structure, right? So it's essentially start with a general statement. Followed by a series of sentences, the progressively narrowed down focus, and conclude with a specific idea, point or idea. It is not necessary there has to be a conclusion, but I think the focus keeps going down. Okay, or it can be a problem solution structure as well. So broad issue, discuss various aspects, and finally offer a solution or action. It is not necessary the last part should be there, but start with an issue and discuss an aspect of the particular issue, right? And probably there'll be a solution. It can be even problem explanation, and then solution may be there, may not be there. It could be a cause effect structure, introducing a general situation or event followed by various consequences and talk about a specific effect. Or it can even be a compare contrast structure, begin with general comparison or contrast of two or more subjects, delve into specific similarities, and conclude by highlighting a key point of or insight. Okay. So exactly how the author is going to deal with each of these is generally up to the author. But what we will have to bet on is the fact that it's going to start broad and the focus will become narrow. Focus becomes narrow does not mean that sentences are going to become narrow. It is just that it's going to talk about, it's going to explain something. For example, I gave a concept, and then I give an example of that particular concept. An example is in one sense narrow aspect of the particular concept, because concept can be applied in multiple situations. I'm just giving you one example. I have mentioned a particular idea. I then explain that idea. Okay, I said that this idea is very important, and I explain that particular idea. Again, the explanation means some specific aspect of that particular idea. I could have done many things about the idea. Let's say VRC. That's a broad thing. I can delve into various aspects. So it keeps on going narrow, right? And then once you move from explanation, where will you go next? Okay, then you think about explanation as a broad idea, and it'll be something specific with respect to that. Okay, maybe give an example. Okay, and then what? Where will we go next? Maybe it has to explain the example. So you can generally bet on these things that progressively there is going to be some sequencing that can happen. Okay. And we don't know, so even if let's say I give you all these 10, 15 different, 20 different structures, we are dealing with one particular paragraph and which is written by an author. All I know is author has some logical way in which the idea is given to me, and all I have to do is unravel that particular logic, right? And I will keep this in mind. I will look at echo, I look at pronoun, I look at signals, right? Which means I want to think about the start. I want to create blocks. I'll find some block, and I'll do the sequencing. This is a CAT 2022 slot 3 question. This is kind of telling a story I don't know whether you had a challenge in solving this particular question. I'm guessing you would have had it. But you said maybe you made a mistake. The worst mistake is answer choice is, let's say, 4213. You get 4123. Sometimes you get 4321. You get something correct, but one thing wrong. All that happens, no? Okay. So let's read this sentence and make sense. Okay. So we'll have to read. It doesn't matter which order you read, because in which case everything is jumbled. But we'll, given the fact that it's given in this order to me, I'll read in that order. You could have read from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, also up to you. Okay, so but any order, I think that it's whatever it is, you stick to one. So let's read. If I wanted to sit indoors and read, or play Sonic the Hedgehog on a red hot Sega Mega Drive, I would often be made to feel guilty about not going outside to enjoy while it lasts. So that is seem to be put in quotes. Made to guilty. Now this is a personal story. Author is making a very personal story about he making feel guilty about not going out. Okay. My mom quite reasonably wanted me and my sister out of the house in the sun. So there is that's feeble echo is saying that go out, not going outside, made feel guilty. I think that mom is doing it. So we can see that echo. Okay, we have to find the echo. If you read and chunk and read, you'll see all this. If you read just like that, you'll not find it. Independently understand each sentence, right? Independently understand each sentence and then keep reading the sentence and then try and navigate with a sentence and make the sequencing. Okay. So my mom quite recently wanted me and my sister out of the house in the sun. 3 says tales of my mom's idyllic sounding childhood in the Sussex countryside, where trees were climbed by 8 a.m. and streams navigated by lunchtime were passed down to us like folklore. So mom used to tell us, when I was a kid, I used to do this. Why are you sitting at home? Go out. Okay. To an introverted kid, that felt like a threat. That. Oh. This sentence needs support from somewhere, and the feeling has stayed with me. Okay. So now a couple of things I am able to gather. One I can see is that this is a discussion about a past. Author is discussing about a past, and the feeling has stayed with me as is in the present. So I can see a temporal sequence here. What is a temporal sequence? Temporal sequence, time-based sequence, and temporal is a move from what is the past and to the present. In that temporal sequence, 1, 2, 3 in some order is in the past. Right? What my mom used to do and what I felt. And 4 is in the present. So the temporal sequence tells me that 4 is in. The second sequence that I can actually see, because I don't know what to call it. Let's look at a causal sequence, which is like a cause and an effect. My mom made me do something, and the effect of that for me is that I felt something. So in that account, what we can actually see that 2 and 3, so let's look at the cause, is 2, 3 in some order is what my mom is asking me to do. Mom wanted me and my sister to go out in the sun. That's it. My mom is telling. My mom is telling story about her childhood and passed on to us. So this is in the sense, if you look at sentence number 3, is like sentence number 2. Sentence number 3 is giving more specific detail about sentence number 2. But if you actually look at the effect of it, right? What happened to me? What I felt made to feel guilty. Right? That's the effect. 1 and 4 in some order is actually talking about the effect that happened to me. And then I can also see the echo. Right? I could see the fact that felt like a threat. What is that felt like a threat? Where is a felt feeling? I felt guilty. And what is the threat? Enjoy while it lasts. I was made to feel guilty about not going outside to enjoy it while it lasts. That felt like a threat, and that feeling what stayed with me. So I don't know how many of you could look at and say that 1 and 4 becoming that block, which is also because of that demonstrative pronoun that is there to connect it, right? How many of you also could find out that 2 3 is also a block, which means a statement is being made, but my mom wanted me and my sister out of the house in the sun. Okay, going that, how mom is telling me, tells me my idyllic childhood was passed down like a folklore. Mom used to tell me. Then what mom told me made me guilty. If you can get this block, you'll get 2 3 1 4. I can actually see a temporal sequence. I can see causal sequence. In the examination, you probably will see one of them. You may see both of them. You may not see anything. You may would have seen this, right? So when you are evaluating this, then there is 2 3 1 4. When you are evaluating any paragraph jumble, how you eventually connect these sentences together would be sort of different, right? You could have connected this in different way. You could have probably felt that I can look at a way in which 3 and 1 is connected, for example. I could for example, they were passed down to us. Things were passed down to us as a folklore. For example, that is an example that is given here. Go enjoy while it lasts. Maybe it's mom telling me. You could have found any connections, but eventually, whatever you are doing must have something that is logical, right? Here you can actually see these two sequences, temporal sequence and causal sequence, and we can see the block because of the pronoun echo. We can see the echo about feeling guilty, and that felt like a threat. What he felt. 1 and 4, you can also look at 1 and 4 as an outcome to the author about what their mom did to them. 2 3 1 4. There you have it. Right. So mom wanted me to do something, explanation, the consequence, and what is the consequence today for me? What I felt then, and that stayed with me today. Now this one is a 2018 one. This one is easy. Just wanted to put this one saying that just because it is there, it can't be a start. Read the sentence, okay? Okay, read sentences. The eventual diagnosis. The moment I say something eventual, I say that okay. I get this hint on temporal sequence. A time A happened, then B happened, then C happened, which will come with a causation sequence. Every cause and effect is also a temporal sequence, right? In the sense that the cause will happen first, then the effect will happen in nature. So you can also see cause effect in very similar sequences. A, then B, then C, then D. That sequence is something that you could do. You will find a lot of many cases. In the eventual diagnosis was skin cancer, and after treatment all seemed well. The viola player didn't know what it was, nor did her GP. This GP is not our Gautam Puri GP. This is general practitioner. Then after that, a routine scan showed it had come back and spread to her lungs. Okay. Then says it started with a lump on Kathy Perring's index finger. It started. This is where the story is starting. So this is usually when you have paragraphs, right, in a passage, how do you these are the kind of paragraph that you'll find right up front when you start. Okay, it all started when I was going to the road. What I saw is okay. So once you see this, you can see this connection. It started with a lump on Carrie Perking index finger. That's where it started. We didn't know what it was. The eventual diagnosis, we diagnosed it. When you don't know, we diagnosed it and found it was a cancer, and after treatment all seemed well. And then comes back and say, then a routine scan showed it had come back. Now other thing that you can look at it, for somebody to say it had come back, for it to come back, it has to go away. So after treatment all seemed well. So there is that connection. So You say this word, the viola player. Who is the viola player? Okay, Kathy Perkins. Therefore, that there is that connection. Okay, it started with a lump. We didn't know what it was. There is that connection. I didn't know what it was. We did. Then a routine the scan showed it had come back. There is that connection from 1 to 3. You can see all sort of connection, and then you see this answer choice, which is 4, 2, 1, and 3, and we can actually see a temporal sequence. What started, didn't know what it was, did diagnosis, it was skin cancer, treatment happened, everything was okay. Then routine scan showed it had come back and spread to our lungs. I think it's very it's a sad sort of twist towards the end of the story. Started very very small lump, just a lump in the index finger, which is into this one now. Yeah. We all know one finger, the one in the middle. After that, we don't know. Little finger, I don't know. Finger where I've written, put my ring finger. Thumb. We know thumbs up. You know thumbs and the one in the middle. Rest is like useless finger. We never use it. Thumbs up to say somebody is good. Thumbs down to say somebody is bad. And the other finger to. Okay. Point is, this is the answer. Okay. Oh. So the sort of in this one, this is particularly so. 3 is the sentence that is giving us some. Okay, these need support. Every other sentence could be like it could be independent sentence. It could be independent sentence. So you look at the idea of zooming in. Okay, look at the bet on zooming in. You have to bet on zooming in, and that's we have to bet on something. So just bet on zooming in, right? So let's read sentence number 1. Women may prioritize cooking. Subject, verb, object. Subject, women. Okay. May prioritize cooking because they feel they alone are responsible for mediating a toxic and unhealthy food system. Great. Okay. Food is commonly framed through the lens of individual choice. Full stop. You can choose to eat healthy. That's how food is framed. Now immediately look at sentence number 1. It's talking about women and why they do cooking. Sentence number 2. How food is framed. Individual choice. Already we see issue here. With sentence number 1 and sentence number 2. Women like prioritize cooking not a choice because they alone are responsible. It's not a choice to them. They feel they alone are responsible. It's not a choice only. So already see that it's not getting connected to these two sentences probably would be need some sentence in middle to navigate between these two very different sort of discussion that is happening, right? And then this is particularly so. Particularly so is, what is it? I said something and I want to go zoom in even further, right? I'm going deeper in neoliberal context where the status has transferred the responsibility of food to individual consumers. Okay. The individualized framing. Oh, echo. Individual framing of choice. Oh, basically that echo. Appeals to a popular desire to experience agency. But, okay, this is a sentence where it's moving away. It's this sentence, even though it's in the middle. This sentence is now shifting focus. Draws away from the structural obstacles that stratify individual food choices. Now there is something that is negative. So see, this statement is something that is negative. This statement is something that is positive. 4 is making that shift. Okay, and look at how you look at this particular sentence here, right? This is particularly so. So this sentence need an immediate connect. We need 3 has to be connected definitely with the block. There is a definite block because this is particular. What is particularly so? In the neoliberal context, where the state has transferred the responsibility of food onto individual consumers. This is particular so in a particular context. Which one? Food is commonly framed through the lens of this. Is it going from 2, then 3, then 4? Is that how it's moving? Okay, that doesn't make any sense, because when you look at the sentences 2, 3, and 4, out of the sentence 2, 3, and 4, which is the most broadest of the sentence? Clearly 2. Food is commonly framed through the lens of individual choice. You can choose to eat healthy. That is the broadest of the sentence. Okay, between 3 and 4, which is more broader? The individual framing of choice appeals to a popular desire in general, right? 4 is much more general, which is even more narrow. This is particularly slow in narrow context. Okay, the context is this. So the block that 3 has to get would be from 4 and 3. So you see that the thing is going from 2, 4, 3, and then 1. And what is the role of 1? 1 is even narrow by giving a specific example of what is happening to women. This is difficult to get, but if you keep things simple and do the zooming in, you should be able to understand. So let me explain this once again. Okay, where is the conversation starting? Food is commonly framed through the lens of individual choice. You can choose to eat healthy. The individualized framing of choice. There is an echo, clean echo. The individual framing of choice. Okay, framed through lens of individual choice. Clean. I think that is enough for me to say there is a 2-4 block. Okay, appeals to a popular desire to experience agency, but moving away. Now it's shifting. Okay, but draws away from the structural obstacles that stratify individual food choices. Okay, that problem is particularly so. So this has gone a little narrow, and this has gone even narrow. This context is particularly so in the neoliberal context, where the state has transferred. So where what state has transferred the responsibility of food onto individual customer, specifically in this context, and then getting into one example that is given. Women may prioritize cooking because they feel they are alone are responsible mediating toxic unhealthy food. The problem is, because it is not explicitly mentioned that 1 is an example, identifying 1 to be an example of the problem that is being discussed. You can see that this in the idea wise, okay, there is a framing that is there. That framing is appeal, but the framing has a problem, particularly in the neoliberal context. So for the author, that 4 and 3 in that sense is that sort of the block, and then giving an example. The problem is, of course, it is not explicitly mentioned, but that's an example. How do I figure out that's an example? How do I move from here? I move by looking at how this zooming in is happening. Correct? So what are we learning? We are basically keep it simple. So we can identify start. Right? So we can identify blocks. Okay, by using, of course, pronouns, echo, and signal. We can identify a block, and we can also do sequencing. Irrespective of whatever the sequencing is, temporal, cause and whatever that is, we are using the sequencing by the simple idea of zooming in. What works, how is worked, depending upon that particular question that you see there. What do you want to do? Read the sentences. Okay, and when you focus and read it, chunking and read it, looking at what each sentence is doing, you will be able to get it. And at this point in time, even if let's say that I'm sure it's simple, but if you still feel I may not be navigated, don't worry, we'll have all the test doses, we will do more. At this point in time, just get this concept right. If you've taken some test, I don't know, mock test or any access that you have, go back and check these things there. Once again, you'll find it. I'll see you in the next lesson. Goodbye.